Tenali Hrenak is a field recordist, sound designer, and radio producer devoted to documenting the living oral traditions of countercultural and communal life. Based in the U.S., he is best known for creating Sounds from the Rainbow, a 20-year field recording archive capturing the songs, poems, stories, and ambient soundscapes of the Rainbow family gatherings, and for producing Muddy Boots Radio, a series blending field recordings, collage, and sound design into immersive audio storytelling. Deeply influenced by folklorists like Alan Lomax and experimental sound artists, Hrenak approaches recording as both an ethnographic and spiritual practice, a way to listen more compassionately to the world and preserve the fleeting beauty of collective expression. His work merges art, anthropology, and activism, reflecting a lifelong commitment to sound as a bridge between community, nature, and consciousness. Gathering Sounds, Field Recording with the Rainbow Family by Tenali Hrenak is a poetic ethnography and sound memoir chronicling over 2 decades of field recordings made at rainbow gatherings, non-commercial, communal gatherings rooted in ideals of peace, love, and freedom. The book interweaves philosophy, folklore, and fieldcraft, blending reflections on listening, storytelling, and community with detailed notes from specific recordings. Through vignettes, songs, and soundscapes, Hrenak captures the spontaneous, participatory spirit of these gatherings, where the boundaries between performer and audience dissolve into collective creation. At its heart, Gathering Sounds celebrates listening as a spiritual and cultural act, an antidote to modern disconnection, honoring ephemeral voices, campfire songs, laughter, and ambient wildness as threads in a living oral archive. It is part travelogue, part sound study, and part love letter to a vanishing countercultural tradition that insists, through sound, that the journey itself is home. The dedication of Gathering Sounds, Field Recording with the Rainbow Family is brief, heartfelt, and deeply personal. Tenali dedicates the book with deep gratitude, love, and appreciation to Lynette Bradford Blinn, honoring her friendship, editorial insight, and creative partnership. He also dedicates it to Shani Howard, one of his dearest friends and longtime traveling companion, whose passing profoundly affected him. The tone is intimate and reflective, expressing loss, love, and the enduring connection that continues through memory and shared creative work. It sets the emotional foundation for the book's themes of community, collaboration, and remembrance, values woven through the rainbow gatherings themselves. In the acknowledgments of the book, Tenali expresses heartfelt gratitude to the countless people who made both the Sounds from the Rainbow archive and this book possible. He thanks all the performers recorded over the years, the many volunteers who built and sustained rainbow gatherings, and the contributors who expanded the project's creative scope with sound trail essays, among them Garrick Beck, Pedro Jackson, Jason Naylor, Dean Sutter, The T. Fairy, Alyssa Zagong, and Karen E. Zirk. He also credits Jesus Velasquez for the book's cover, Matthew Wayne Selznick for layout and publishing guidance, and the artists and photographers featured throughout. Deep thanks go to his partner, Kristen Blinn, co-creator, editor, and the one who named the book, for her wisdom and support. Hrenak warmly acknowledges his family for their love and encouragement, especially his father's early nudge to write a book someday. Finally, he offers touching tributes to 2 close friends and collaborators, Lynette Bradford Blinn and Shani Howard, both of whom passed away before publication, celebrating their friendship, creativity, and lasting influence on his life and work. The listening note serves as both a practical guide and a philosophical invitation. Tenali begins by directing readers to the companion website, gatheringsounds.org, where every recording mentioned in the book can be streamed or downloaded, encouraging offline access for continuity and preservation. More than just a technical note, it introduces readers to the ethos of the Rainbow Gatherings, a global, non-commercial community that builds temporary villages rooted in cooperation, art, and love. The section describes how these gatherings, often called the largest non-organization of non-members, thrive through collective creativity and oral tradition rather than hierarchy or commerce. Music and sound are central to this culture, uniting participants through shared songs, drumming, and storytelling passed down across generations. The listening note thus frames the book as both a listening experience and a cultural immersion, an invitation to hear the Rainbow Family's world not as an outsider but as part of its living, breathing soundscape. The Welcome Home section, written by Kristen C. Blinn, serves as both an introduction to the Rainbow Gathering community and a personal entry point into the collaborative creation of the book. It begins with a vivid recollection of a 2010 Rainbow Gathering in Pennsylvania, where Blinn first met Tenali as he prepared to record performances for his Sounds from the Rainbow archive, an encounter that would later blossom into their creative partnership. The essay introduces the ethos of the Rainbow Family, a decentralized, non-commercial collective that builds temporary villages in nature, sustained by cooperation, barter, and shared service rather than commerce or hierarchy. Through music, storytelling, and mutual aid, the gatherings become living experiments in egalitarian community and spiritual inclusivity. Blinn explains how oral tradition binds the culture together, songs, sayings, and stories passed from one generation of gatherers to the next, embodied in greetings like welcome home and farewells like love in you. The section ultimately frames the book as an extension of that ethos, an act of listening, belonging, and love for a community that blurs the boundaries between art, life, and shared humanity. Part 1, Behind the Sounds from the Rainbow, introduces the foundation and philosophy behind Tenali's Sounds from the Rainbow project, a 20-year field recording archive of music, stories, and soundscapes from rainbow gatherings. This section situates the archive as both an ethnographic and artistic exploration of how sound creates and reflects community. Hrenak invites readers to approach listening as a form of participation, asking how sound shapes identity, transforms relationships, and blurs lines between performer and audience. He explains that the recordings challenge capitalist and studio-centered models of music making by celebrating spontaneous, communal creativity and acoustic intimacy. Part 1 also contextualizes the gatherings themselves, temporary, self-organized villages devoted to cooperation and non-commercial expression, and provides background on Hrenak's journey into field recording, the evolving recording environments, and the collaborative nature of the archive. Together, these chapters frame the project as an act of cultural preservation, attentive listening, and love for the collective artistry of a community that resists commodification. Chapter 1, Introducing the Archive, lays the conceptual foundation for the book by presenting the Sounds from the Rainbow project as both an artistic and ethnographic archive of over 1,500 field recordings collected over 20 years at rainbow gatherings. Tenali invites readers to explore the archive through 50 sound trails, a choose-your-own listening adventure that transforms sound into a portal for understanding community and identity. He frames listening as an act of cultural participation, posing questions about how sound shapes belonging, when noise becomes music, and how environment alters perception. The chapter celebrates the gathering's non-commercial, improvisational sound culture that subverts capitalist music production and dissolves performer-audience boundaries. Hrenak envisions the archive as part of an ongoing folk process, where each generation reinterprets and renews collective songs and stories. Drawing inspiration from the idea of the cultural animator, he positions himself as a community artist who animates shared creativity and preserves a living sonic commons, a record of how people make meaning, joy, and connection through sound. Chapter 2, Field Tripping, a sound vision, recounts Tenali's transformative experience in the desert that inspired his approach to field recording and deep listening. Drawing from an encounter with Huichol people in Mexico during a peyote ceremony, Hrenak reflects on silence, perception, and the spiritual dimensions of sound. Under the influence of mescaline, he envisions himself transforming into an ear, an embodiment of pure listening, and receives an inner call to document the ephemeral beauty of human expression. This visionary state leads him to imagine preserving the sounds of rainbows, songs, stories, ambient noises, and conversations from the rainbow gatherings. He rejects the notion that field recording and folk traditions are dead, instead embracing listening as a sacred act of participation in the living world. The chapter becomes a poetic meditation on sound as both art and consciousness, a bridge between self and environment, tradition and innovation, and the audible and spiritual realms. Chapter 3, Gearing Up to Field record is Tenali's hands-on reflection on the craft, logistics, and philosophy of field recording within the unpredictable ecosystem of rainbow gatherings. He explains his self-taught, improvisational process, born from necessity and curiosity, detailing his early struggles with limited information, scarce resources, and a make-it-up-as-you-go ethos. Hrenak describes the evolving technology of recording gear, emphasizing that relationships, intuition, and presence matter more than expensive equipment. The chapter guides readers through various recording settings, campfires, open mics, drum circles, kitchens, and ambient soundscapes, each with its own sonic challenges and rewards. He stresses respect, consent, and community connection as ethical pillars of his practice, ensuring that all recordings remain freely available in the spirit they were created. Ultimately, the chapter reveals field recording as both a technical art and a meditative act of listening, an attempt to capture fleeting, communal expressions of love, creativity, and humanity within nature's open-air studio. Chapter 4. Recording over, at, the Rainbow reflects Tenali's matured perspective on sound recording as both a spiritual and communal act. He describes how years of fieldwork at rainbow gatherings reshaped his understanding of music, blurring distinctions between song and natural sound. Thunder, laughter, and wind all become part of the same living composition. Hrenak emphasizes spontaneity and authenticity over perfection, striving to merge with the environment so that recording becomes a form of presence rather than observation. He positions himself unobtrusively within performances, allowing the moment to unfold organically and sometimes accepting technical imperfections as part of the art. Hrenak likens this practice to an intuitive dance between control and surrender, where magic occasionally aligns by chance. The chapter closes with reflections on the purpose of the archive, to preserve not polished performances but moments of connection, transmitting love and wonder in a world increasingly mediated by algorithms and artifice. Part 2. Choose Your Own Rainbow Trail transforms gathering sounds from a linear narrative into an interactive, multi-sensory journey through the Rainbow Gathering soundscape. Framed as a playful homage to Choose Your Own Adventure books, it invites readers to become active participants, Odyssey walkers choosing which sound trails to follow across 50 recordings and dozens of tweener interludes. Each trail blends prose, poetry, art, and field recordings, weaving a tapestry of community voices, stories, and songs. Tenali encourages readers to read or listen in any order, guided by curiosity, intuition, or even divination, embodying the rainbow ethos of freedom and participation. The section celebrates listening as adventure, where each choice alters the experience and reveals new meanings. Ultimately, it mirrors the gatherings themselves, non-linear, improvisational, and filled with chance encounters that together form a living mandala of sound, story, and collective imagination. Odyssey Walker serves as the opening passage of Part 2, Choose Your Own Rainbow Trail, inviting readers to enter the book's immersive world as active travelers along the rainbow soundscape. Written in a whimsical, mythic tone, it frames the reader as a journeyer, an Odyssey walker stepping into an ongoing story where life, sound, and spirit intertwine. The section begins with a poetic meditation on death and vibration, suggesting that life and afterlife are connected through continuous resonance. A musical vignette of Will the Circle Be Unbroken bridges the earthly and the spiritual, symbolizing continuity, memory, and community. As the journey begins, a mystical figure named Pied Pippi Pixie gifts the walker a gossamer tarot deck, setting up the Choose Your Own Adventure format, each sound trail representing a path of discovery. The writing blends sound notes, natural imagery, and metaphysical reflection, encouraging the reader to follow intuition, embrace wonder, and recognize listening as a sacred form of wandering. Ultimately, Odyssey Walker establishes the book's central theme, that every step, sound, and story forms part of a circular journey through community, creativity, and consciousness. Your guide to sound trails serves as both an introduction and orientation for the reader-explorer entering the main body of the book. Drawing inspiration from utopian visions and countercultural philosophy, Tenali quotes Norman Spinrad and Oscar Wilde to frame rainbow gatherings as living experiments in creative possibility, a tabula rasa of what could be. He invites readers to travel alongside him through 50 sound trails, each representing a recorded moment of communal life, music, or story. The guide explains how to navigate the non-linear structure of the book, emphasizing curiosity, play, and openness to surprise. Readers can choose their own path through recordings and reflections, mirroring the free-form flow of the gatherings themselves. Hrenak likens this journey to a metaphorical rainbow trail, full of twists, reflections, and revelations, where each listener's choices shape a unique experience. Ultimately, the section positions the reader as an active participant, a walker responsible for their own path through sound, story, and imagination. The Scoutin is a poetic vignette that blends storytelling, song, and rainbow lore to depict the ritual of scouting, the annual process where members search for the next rainbow gathering site. Written like a campfire ballad, it follows a narrator who encounters a group of seasoned scouts hiking through the wilderness, reading topographic maps and sharing wisdom over coffee and weed. Their playful yet profound conversation turns into a teaching about how to walk the land with respect, knowing where to park, find water, and leave space for community. The refrain, "Maps aren't the territory," captures the rainbow ethos of intuition and humility before nature. Beneath the humor and rhythm lies a deeper philosophy. True scouting isn't just about logistics but about sensing harmony between people and place, ensuring that the site brings us peace. The section celebrates both the practical and spiritual art of finding home in the wild, where journey, song, and stewardship converge. Happy Trails acts as a gentle threshold between the orientation chapters and the beginning of the rainbow sound trails. It functions as a poetic farewell and blessing for the journey ahead, fusing the literal act of trail walking with the spiritual ethos of rainbow life. The section is accompanied by artwork and imagery of the trail, inviting readers to visualize themselves stepping into the forest. The tone is reflective and ceremonial, an invocation for safe travels, open hearts, and attentive listening. While brief, it encapsulates the spirit of transition central to gathering sounds, the move from preparation to experience, from observer to participant. Through its title, borrowed from the classic cowboy farewell, Hrenak nods to the wandering tradition that inspired both folk musicians and rainbow travelers, setting the stage for the book's first major recording, Will the Circle Be Unbroken, and its meditation on continuity, community, and the eternal flow of sound. Richard and Unknown, Walking into Will the Circle Be Unbroken captures Tenali's first field recording experience at the 2000 Montana Rainbow Gathering, blending serendipity, folk heritage, and spiritual reflection. The scene unfolds along a quiet forest trail where footsteps, crickets, and the faint glow of a campfire lead to the spontaneous performance of the hymn Will the Circle Be Unbroken. The song, originally written in 1907 by Ada R. Habershon and Charles H. Gabriel, becomes a living embodiment of the folk process, transcending ownership and time. Richard sings lead while an unknown woman, who later reveals she is honoring her recently deceased mother, joins in harmony, creating a deeply emotional and timeless moment. Hrenak reflects on the universality of song as a conduit for connection and healing, quoting Sufi mystic Hazrat Inayat Khan to liken music to the soul itself. The recording, enriched by the interplay of human voices and nature's chorus, marks the genesis of Hrenak's Wanderjar in sound, symbolizing both the literal and metaphoric unbroken circle of life, death, and communal spirit. Haiku Hug serves as a minimalist interlude of emotional simplicity and human connection. Following the spiritually resonant Will the Circle Be Unbroken, this section shifts tone, distilling the rainbow ethos into a brief haiku. They hear a friend call, the distance between them fades, a hug warms the heart. It embodies the gathering's essence of unity, compassion, and presence, suggesting that profound meaning can emerge from small, sincere gestures. The accompanying art by Baroka Studio and photography by Benoit Pai complement this sense of warmth and immediacy, visually echoing the poem's theme of closeness across distance. In its brevity, Haiku Hug functions as both a breath and a bridge, a reminder that the rainbow experience, like a haiku, is fleeting yet timeless, grounded in the vibration of shared love and spontaneous communion. Annabelle and Josuna, Oli Aloha recounts a 2016 recording made at the Vermont Annual Rainbow Gathering, where two young sisters from Hawaii perform at Story Glory, a camp dedicated to preserving the oral and musical traditions of the Rainbow family. Their performance of Oli Aloha, a traditional Hawaiian chant meaning love is coming home, becomes a radiant moment of cultural exchange and heartfelt sincerity. Tenali situates the scene within the camp's lively yet intimate atmosphere, visitors flowing in and out, birds singing, and conversation mingling with song, reflecting the organic interconnectedness of community life. The sisters' natural confidence and joy capture the rainbow ideal of openness and belonging, as their voices carry the spirit of aloha across the Green Mountains. The vignette exemplifies Hrenak's goal of documenting authenticity and spontaneity in sound, moments where love, nature, and shared humanity harmonize without artifice, embodying the gathering's guiding message, "Welcome home." Try Ain Gal is a brief, dreamlike vignette in gathering sounds, combining whimsy, futurism, and self-aware reflection on the cyclical nature of the rainbow gatherings. Introduced with a playful Terra choice and accompanied by artwork from Andrea Frelian and Sally Strongbrew, the section centers around a cryptic quote by a character named Letty Loop. At the 2072 gathering, the 100th anniversary, I realized that rainbow isn't what it used to be when it was as it has become now long before the ever after. This paradoxical statement encapsulates the tension between nostalgia and evolution, acknowledging that even as the rainbow family changes, its essence endures. The piece functions as both satire and prophecy, a poetic reflection on the passage of time within a countercultural tradition that values impermanence, community, and ritual renewal. Like many of Tenali's sound trail fragments, it acts as a metaphoric portal, inviting readers to step between eras, voices, and visions, all connected by the unbroken thread of gathering and listening. Rico Rickanek and Benji, Welcome Home captures the spirit of warmth, inclusivity, and improvisational creativity that defines the Rainbow Family ethos. Recorded at the 2019 Wisconsin Annual Rainbow Gathering in the Checkmagon Nicollet National Forest, the performance, part of a pre-show jam at the Granola Funk Theater's Western Saloon-themed stage, blends folk and spiritual elements into a free-form communal expression. Rico's ukulele and lead vocals, joined by Benji's harmonies, mandolin, and percussion, create a textured soundscape that feels both intimate and celebratory. The song, inspired by a satsang tune called I Am, becomes a reconnected remix about consciousness, gratitude, and shared light. Hrenak contextualizes the piece by exploring the deeper cultural meaning of the phrase "Welcome Home," a signature rainbow greeting that embodies acceptance and unity. The section concludes with reflections on the imperfections and beauty of rainbow gatherings, temporary collaborative spaces where people learn, heal, and imagine new ways of living together. Through sound and story alike, Welcome Home becomes both a musical gesture and a social philosophy, an open invitation to belong. Mandalabyrinth is a poetic and riddle-like meditation embedded in the book, serving as both a pause and a reflection point in the book's sound trail journey. Accompanied by art from Priya Designer, the passage unfolds as a riddle that describes rhythm as a living, shifting entity, rippling like a wave, emitting mountainscapes, and leaving or erasing its trace at will. This short, enigmatic poem blurs the boundary between sound and form, echoing the rainbow ethos of impermanence and interconnectedness. Positioned between narrative vignettes and recordings, Mandalabyrinth functions as a symbolic gateway, inviting the listener-reader to consider the cyclical, labyrinthine nature of creation, sound, and experience itself. Its name fuses mandala, a cosmic pattern of unity, with labyrinth, a path of introspection, suggesting that to wander the rainbow world is to move within both a sacred design and a playful puzzle, an ongoing dance between presence and mystery. Kaylee, First 100 Digits of Pi is a whimsical and surreal interlude within gathering sounds, recorded at the 2022 Colorado Annual Rainbow Gathering in the Medicine Bow Root National Forest. Featuring a brief a cappella performance by Kaylee reciting the first 100 digits of pi, the track humorously plays with ideas of infinity, directionlessness, and the playful absurdity of being lost within both the forest and the endless sequence of numbers. Tenali presents the piece as a sound trail diversion, a metafictional detour in which the listener is invited to wander, flipping pages the wrong way, performing 20 backflips into the future, and following a door marked with the pi symbol. The section merges mathematical precision with rainbow whimsy, turning the irrational beauty of pi into a metaphor for the infinite loops of experience, curiosity, and creative exploration that characterize the gatherings themselves. Chris, the Three Piddle-Ligs is a hilarious and linguistically inventive retelling of The Three Little Pigs, performed by a storyteller named Chris at the 2010 Pennsylvania Annual Rainbow Gathering and recorded during the Granola Funk Variety Show on July 4. The piece is written and spoken entirely in spoonerisms, words playfully jumbled to create a surreal, tongue-twisting, and musical rhythm, Helcom Wom. Don't get your twickers in a nist. Tenali describes it as one of the funniest and most memorable performances he ever witnessed, praising Chris's command of timing, language, and audience engagement. Beneath the humor, the story becomes a celebration of oral tradition, creativity, and collective joy, themes central to the Rainbow family's culture of spontaneous artistic expression. The section ends with a playful moral, time-stamped notes, and a poetic coda, reinforcing that laughter and wordplay, like the gatherings themselves, transform language into a shared experience of community and delight. Petalus, Vikunati chronicles a luminous musical and cultural encounter at the first-ever Panamanian Rainbow Gathering in 2005, held near Biquete in the lush Chiriquí province. The section recounts how Petalus, a Colombian family band, husband, wife, son, and daughter, traveled by bicycle from Colombia to Panama, playing Andean music and teaching environmental workshops along the way. Their performance of Vicunita, a traditional Huayno song from the Andean highlands, filled the tropical night with the sounds of charango, panpipes, and voices that evoked mountain air and ancient rhythms. Hrenak describes the recording session as one of his most treasured moments, a communal firelit celebration where gatherers danced, laughed, and felt imbued with the eternal undulation of utopian vibration. The piece becomes not just a snapshot of a performance, but a vivid portrait of transnational kinship, ecological harmony, and the joy of sound as shared sustenance, capturing how the Rainbow family's spirit transcends borders through music, movement, and open-hearted presence. Cleanup Begins Upon Arrival transforms the Rainbow family's environmental ethic into a playful, participatory anthem. Presented as an upcycled sea shanty inspired by Roll the Old Chariot Along, this section reimagines cleanup as a collective act of reverence for the land. Illustrated by Nora Yaki, the lyrics repeat like a mantra, "Oh, we'd be all right if the trash you make was taken away. And we'll leave nothing left behind," reinforcing the Rainbow principle that stewardship begins the moment one arrives. Tenali uses this lyrical adaptation to emphasize that ecological mindfulness is woven into the spirit of the gathering itself. Every participant is part of the cleanup crew, and care for the earth is both work and song. The result is an eco-ritual disguised as a folk tune, joyful, communal, and grounded in the Rainbow credo that sustainability is inseparable from celebration. Quicksand and Flame, Caged Birds unfolds as one of the most evocative and tender moments in gathering sounds, recorded at the Rough and Ready Kitchen during the 2017 Oregon Rainbow Gathering in the Malheur National Forest. The song, performed by the duo Quicksand and Flame, fuses violin, ukulele, and voice into a haunting expression of Hirith, a Welsh word denoting a deep, untranslatable longing for home. Hrenak describes the performance as embodying both youthful yearning and timeless beauty, its melody flowing like a dream amid the sounds of laughter, pretzel making, and the chatter of communal life. He reflects on how these field recordings blur the line between foreground and background, between song and lived moment, capturing a fragile equilibrium where art, nature, and community intertwine. The music, he writes, soothes existential ponderings, transforming a simple kitchen jam into an elegy for belonging, a sonic meditation on what it means to be both free and forever searching for home. Rocker T. Ja Everlasting documents one of the most revered and emotionally powerful performances in the book. Recorded at the 2001 Idaho Annual Rainbow Gathering near Stanley, Idaho, the song unfolds during a cold July 4th night at the Granola Funk stage, where Rocker T's voice and guitar, joined by Andius on upright bass, create an atmosphere both intimate and transcendent. His performance of Jah Everlasting, a reggae-infused spiritual rooted in gratitude and resilience, rises like a prayer, merging the sacred and the human. Hrenak describes how the song's background sounds, a baby's soft whimper, crackling fires, murmured audience responses, become part of its emotional tapestry, culminating in a moment of synchronicity when rocker T drops to his knees as the music swells. Revered by listeners as one of the most moving recordings in Hrenak's archive, it symbolizes the project's purpose, to capture raw, communal beauty that transcends documentation. The song's message, of perseverance, humility, and divine connection, echoes the Rainbow family's essence: unity through sound, spirit, and shared vibration. Cosmic Campfire serves as a dreamlike, interdimensional interlude, blurring the boundary between imaginative prose and metaphysical reflection. Illustrated by D.S.O. Ilardi, the passage invites the reader to stumble upon a moss-covered tree stump that becomes a portal, plunging them into a cosmic realm where beings sit around a galactic campfire, immersed in song and starlight. Written in a looping, playful tone, the scene captures the rainbow ethos of curiosity, wonder, and unity across dimensions of sound and spirit. The cosmic song strummed beside the fire symbolizes both the literal music of rainbow gatherings and the metaphoric harmony that binds creation together. Hrenak's narration gently breaks the fourth wall, reminding readers that reality itself may be as strange and fluid as the gatherings he documents, an open-ended invitation to return to consensual reality whenever one is ready. Deja, Nakama, Sasha, Nastasia, Tina, and Lucy, Maha Muratunjaya, Om Mama La, Durga Stuti, Govinda Jaya Jaya is one of the most transcendent recordings in gathering sounds, captured at the 2004 California Annual Rainbow Gathering near Likely, in the Modoc National Forest. The piece unfolds around a Shabbat campfire at Jerusalem Camp, where a circle of women performs a suite of devotional chants drawn from Hindu and yogic traditions. Their harmonized voices, anchored by a droning harmonium, create what Hrenak calls a spiraling of firmament voices, invoking an atmosphere of mystical unity. Drawing on classical Arab concepts of tarab, sultana, and sama, he describes the performance as a shared ecstatic state between singer and listener, a spiritual feedback loop where individual identity dissolves into vibration. Through mantras such as the Maha Muratunjaya, a prayer for liberation, and Govinda Jaya Jaya, a chant of joy to Krishna, the recording becomes both invocation and offering, an expression of timeless devotion transcending culture and language. Hrenak concludes that such music reveals the spirit alive, a luminous antidote to humanity's chaos and forgetfulness, affirming that through collective song, love and light endure. Hadley, Marimba Campfire Chant is a jubilant, rhythmic celebration of communal harmony, recorded at the 2006 Colorado Annual Rainbow Gathering near Clark in the Medicine Bow Route National Forest. Presented as a Sound Trail Diversion 2.0, the piece blends marimba-driven cadence with circle dance lyrics that invite participants to join hands, bow to the muse, and honor the moon and fire. Structured like a call and response folk round, its verses, around the campfire do-si-do, around the heart song, here we go evoke a living mandala of movement, music, and shared joy. The accompanying quote from Una Anu, Tenet Stats, Hey, Tataratat, Hey, Stats Tenet, underscores the palindrome-like cyclicality of the chant, where beginnings and endings fold into each other. With artwork by Banja Guffey, this section captures the spontaneous ritual energy of rainbow nights, where drumming, dancing, and laughter merge into one heartbeat, affirming that singing together sets us free. Raccoon, Trippin', Dumpster Diver captures the humor, wisdom, and folk artistry that pulse at the heart of the Rainbow family experience. Recorded around a campfire, the late musician Raccoon performs two of his signature songs, Trippin', a playful ode to cosmic wandering, and Dumpster Diver, a witty yet poignant anthem celebrating resourcefulness and environmental awareness. Through lively lyrics, laughter, and spontaneous interaction with listeners, Raccoon transforms everyday scavenging into a metaphor for spiritual and creative recycling, turning trash into treasure both literally and symbolically. Tenali describes the performance as pure campfire magic, unguarded, communal, and infused with contagious joy, punctuated by the sound of laughter and a shared sense of purpose. The recording becomes a microcosm of the rainbow ethos, rejecting consumerism, embracing improvisation, and finding beauty in the discarded, while preserving Raccoon's legacy as one of the gathering's most beloved troubadours, whose garbological gospel reminds everyone that wastefulness is merely imagination untuned. Holland Supplies is a short, whimsical interlude that blends rainbow practicality with lyrical imagination. Set at fast break breakfast camp, a tongue twister of a kitchen, the reader is placed amid the rhythm of communal labor, helping prepare biscuit batter while two people push a cart of supplies down a forest trail. A gnome trots alongside, singing a surreal, poetic refrain that turns the mundane act of hauling gear into a mystical procession. His song, filled with invented words and playful rhyme, where golden glumps of tricky bumps swam the myriad waters told transforms work into art, echoing the rainbow ethos that creativity and cooperation are one and the same. Illustrated by UCUP, this vignette operates as a gentle ode to the magic within ordinary acts of service, where movement, rhythm, and camaraderie carry spiritual resonance beneath the light-hearted surface. Beaver Splash and the Crater Lake Band is Tenali's lyrical ode to nature's own orchestra, recorded at the 2019 Wisconsin Annual Rainbow Gathering in the Czechmagan-Nicolet National Forest. Initially intending to capture the haunting calls of loons, Hrenak instead found himself mesmerized by a beaver's rhythmic tail splashes, which became the centerpiece of a spontaneous symphony he affectionately dubbed the Crater Lake Band. The resulting soundscape, an interplay of beaver percussion, loon melodies, amphibian bass lines, and rustling leaves, embodies what Pauline Oliveros called deep listening, where the boundaries between human and non-human sound dissolve. Hrenak's reflections weave humor, including a limerick about Speeve the beaver, with philosophical musings on sound perception, natural harmony, and time's fluidity. The section closes with poetic grace, likening the moment to Thoreau's meditations at Walden Pond. Crater Lake abides, sitting in ripple repose, spirit sounds anew. The piece captures Hrenak's belief that attentive listening to the world's smallest symphonies reveals a sacred alignment between earth, water, and the music of being. MC She, Some Words for Rainbow is a lively, poetic tribute to the Rainbow Family experience, recorded on July 3, 2006, at Popcorner Camp during the Colorado Annual Rainbow Gathering. Performed at a campfire open mic hosted by Diamond Dave, complete with popcorn, chai, and laughter, MC She's poem captures the spirit of rainbow gatherings from the cheesy to the sublime. Her words balance humor and sincerity, celebrating community, imperfection, and authenticity. Using rhythmic wordplay and rainbow slang, Jones. Babylon, she reflects on everything from herbal walks and mud baths to spiritual awakening and social resistance. Hrenak praises the performance for its homey warmth, crackling fire ambiance, and witty self-awareness, noting how it perfectly encapsulates the gathering's duality: chaotic yet harmonious, silly yet sacred. The section concludes as a love letter to the creative heart of rainbow life, where spoken word, laughter, and shared humanity intertwine under the stars. The Territory the Map is Not is a philosophical vignette that playfully explores perception, abstraction, and the gap between lived experience and representation. The scene unfolds at X Marks the Pot at Brew Here Now Cafe, where the narrator shares coffee and conversation with Carter the cartographer, a metaphorical figure who speaks about how ideas become reality through the translation of abstractions into action. His advice, "Put the vision before the cart," blends humor and wisdom, culminating in the central axiom, "The territory the map is not." This phrase, borrowed from general semantics, reminds readers that no description or map can capture the full essence of lived experience. In the rainbow context, it becomes a meditation on how the gatherings, and the recordings themselves, are only sketches of a greater, ineffable whole. With artwork by Bill Crook, the section acts as both koan and compass, urging travelers to stay open to mystery, spontaneity, and the unchartable terrain of communal and inner landscapes. Guitar Mikal, Bonnie Blue captures a tender and serendipitous moment of music, innocence, and spontaneity recorded at the 2003 Utah Annual Rainbow Gathering near Mountain View, Wyoming. Guitar Mikal, singing, playing harmonica, and guitar, is joined by 3-year-old Narya, whose repeated question, "What is your favorite color?" becomes the spark for the song itself. Without hesitation, Mikal smiles and answers, "Blue," and that's what this song's about, launching into a heartfelt tune celebrating the color of the sky and the spirit of connection. The recording unfolds like a living lullaby, punctuated by Narya's playful interjections and the sounds of the camp's quiet afternoon. Hrenak reflects on the scene as an unrepeatable fusion of chance and magic, pure, innocent in its blending of childlike curiosity and musical improvisation. The song's lyrics, rich with natural imagery and gentle humor, mirror the rainbow ethos of wonder, gratitude, and presence. In Hrenak's words, it remains a good-natured oral snapshot of childhood, permeating wholesomeness like a freshly baked apple pie, a moment forever etched in the halls of Camp Irreplaceable. B-Bones, the Owl and the Pussycat is a jubilant fusion of Edward Lear's classic nonsense poem and the Rainbow Family's spirit of playful collaboration, recorded at the 2019 Wisconsin Annual Rainbow Gathering in the Checkmagon-Nicolet National Forest. Performed by Clay Mazing and his audience participation band, B-Bones, during an emergency circus set at Granola Funk, the piece invites both children and adults on stage to act out Lear's whimsical tale using props like moons and masks. Hrenak prefaces the performance with reflections on his lifelong admiration for Lear's imaginative wordplay and the art of nonsense writing, which he views as a celebration of linguistic freedom and interpretive creativity. The live rendition, part musical, part comedy, part communal theater, transforms the 19th-century poem into a collective improvisation of laughter, rhythm, and absurdity. As the audience joins in song and silliness, the timeless charm of the owl and the pussycat becomes a living metaphor for rainbow life itself, a joyful voyage across seas of imagination, where logic bends, play reigns, and love dances by the light of the moon. Owl Vibe is a brief yet emblematic parable of wisdom and simplicity. Illustrated by Aisha Haifa Ansar, it unfolds as a micro-scene of mystical encounter and playful philosophy. While wandering along a whimsically named trailside trail, the narrator meets an owl perched on a cedar branch and asks, "Owl, owl on a tree limb, do you keep wisdom vibing?" The owl's reply, "I make it do what it do," encapsulates the rainbow ethos in its most distilled form, grounded wisdom expressed through humor and ease. In just a few lines, Tenali transforms a woodland moment into a koan about being, reminding readers that truth often arrives through simplicity, sound, and synchronicity. The section serves as both an echo and a breath, a quiet interlude of cosmic wink and earthy knowing, bridging the poetic and the practical. Swan Lake, Droplets with Thunder is a meditative soundscape that fuses nature's raw energy with delicate human curiosity, recorded at the 2013 Montana Annual Rainbow Gathering near Jackson, Montana. As a thunderstorm approaches, Tenali scrambles to capture the fleeting sounds of rain and thunder, only for a music box, playing Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake, to tumble unexpectedly into his lap. Seeing this coincidence as a sign, he integrates the music box's melody into the ambient thunder, creating a seesaw soundscape of booming skies and tinkling notes. The piece becomes a reflection on synchronicity, consciousness, and the porous boundary between accident and intention. Hrenak muses on thunder's elusive majesty and the challenges of recording it, likening the experience to a dance between chaos and order. Through this accidental duet of storm and melody, he illustrates the rainbow ethos of openness to mystery, where listening itself becomes an act of wonder and co-creation. Eleanor, I Don't Wanna Sit in This House is a serendipitous and introspective entry, recorded at the 2009 New Mexico Annual Rainbow Gathering near Cuba, in the Santa Fe National Forest. The piece was captured entirely by accident when Tenali forgot to turn off his recorder while leaving his backpack behind at Funkapoo Corner. What resulted was an unplanned, intimate glimpse of Eleanor and friends casually trading songs and instruments, an unfiltered expression of wanderlust and artistic yearning. Hrenak frames the recording as a meditation on longing and motion, suggesting that to truly live is to heed the beckoning road and follow desire without rational restraint. Quoting St. Dogout, he likens the creative journey to the ship of Theseus, ever-changing yet continuous. The section, illustrated by D. Curry Stu Skypoint, embodies the rainbow ethos of openness to accident and discovery, celebrating how beauty often emerges when we stop trying to control what we capture. Human, Wake Up is one of the most uplifting and spiritually charged performances in the book, recorded at the 2009 New Mexico Annual Rainbow Gathering near Cuba in the Santa Fe National Forest. Performed by a gentle, bespectacled guitarist known as Human and accompanied by violin, the song unfolds around a campfire at the Funkapoo Corner Cafe before an intimate circle of about 25 gatherers. With its refrain, "Wake up, people of the earth, wake up," the song calls for collective awakening, peace, and reconnection to the natural world. Tenali highlights it as a distillation of the rainbow ethos, faith in humanity's inherent goodness and capacity for harmony. The piece blends hope with ecological consciousness, urging listeners to shed the illusions of modern, industrial life and return to community, love, and the earth itself. As Human's audience joins in chorus, along with the dog's spontaneous howl, the recording becomes both prayer and celebration, reminding all that transformation begins within and together we can make the change. Waterline is a playful yet practical interlude, blending environmental mindfulness with humor and song. Illustrated by Zetoart, the section begins as a gentle reminder to drink water after long hours of communal work and play, but quickly expands into a reflection on awareness and responsibility. Hrenak asks readers to consider where their water comes from, whether it's boiled, filtered, or drawn directly from a waterline, using this as a metaphor for self-knowledge. To know thyself is to know your source. The piece culminates in Waterline, Wellerman Land Shanty Mix, a rainbow-style sea shanty celebrating the collective labor of fetching, filtering, and sharing water. With verses like "Soon may the waterline come, to bring some water for everyone," the song transforms a mundane task into a joyful ritual of sustainability and togetherness, encapsulating the rainbow ethos of practical ecology, humor, and community harmony. Jordan and KJ, Mr. Spaceman and Farewell Song captures a striking emotional duality of field recording with the Rainbow Family, recorded live at the 2019 Wisconsin Annual Rainbow Gathering in the Checkmagon-Nicollet National Forest. The paired tracks, performed at the July 4th Variety Show at Granola Funk Theater, contrast surreal humor with heartfelt reflection. Mr. Spaceman is a trippy, comedic folk tune that spins an LSD-laced cosmic odyssey of an alien friend, performed with tongue-in-cheek exuberance and met by roaring cheers. In contrast, Farewell Song transitions into a tender elegy written for a loved one who passed away, its gentle guitar and harmonized vocals evoking acceptance and the flow of life and death. Hrenak frames the two songs as a perfect A-side/B-side pairing, celebrating the joy of presence while acknowledging impermanence. The section closes with reflections on mortality, inspired by a Japanese Zen poem, "Moon in a Barrel, You Never Know Just When the Bottom Will Fall Out," and a reminder that every ending, like a farewell, holds the seed of renewal. Phoebe Chant serves as a light-hearted yet meditative bridge, blending whimsy, rhythm, and ecological reverence. Coming after the introspective Farewell Song, it offers a playful reprieve, an auditory palate cleanser that celebrates simplicity and joy. Accompanied by artwork from Zlevkun, this section embodies the Rainbow Family's practice of finding sacredness in everyday sound. The chant itself likely echoes the call of the black-capped chickadee, Phoebe, a natural motif often imitated by gatherers as a form of connection to their surroundings. Tenali frames the piece as both a spontaneous field recording and a metaphorical cue to listen closely, to harmonize with nature, and to rediscover wonder through repetition and play. Phoebe Chant thus becomes not just a song, but a sonic mindfulness exercise, reminding the listener that even the simplest calls can carry profound communal and ecological meaning. Various, The Goddesses Coming Out of the Closet is a profound exploration of feminine spirituality, mythic consciousness, and communal ritual. Recorded at the 2003 Utah Annual Rainbow Gathering, this piece, introduced with flute, drum, and laughter, creates a sacred auditory space where time feels mythic and cyclical. Writer Karen Zirk reflects on how the performance mirrors women's sister-only gatherings of the 1990s, where healing, listening, and storytelling redefine power beyond patriarchal paradigms. The song's chant evolves from invocation to embodiment, calling the shaman woman into presence as drums mimic the heartbeat and voices weave harmony. Zirk interprets this as both personal memory and mythic reenactment, an act of reclaiming the sacred feminine through sound. The performance builds to a climactic rap critiquing how society suppresses women's bodies and voices, transforming anger into communal empowerment. Ultimately, the recording is both a ritual document and a cultural myth, one that honors listening, memory, and the living pulse of goddess energy in all who gather to hear and be heard. Camellia Anurialis serves as a whimsical, mystical interlude, blending fantasy storytelling with themes of imagination and perception. In this vignette, the narrator encounters a fairy named Echo Mistia Willow from Sky Rynid, who thanks the listener for keeping imagination alive, implying that such creative energy sustains her existence. She gifts the listener leaves of the Camellia Anurialis plant, used to brew a mythical tea called Anuriali, symbolizing insight and expanded awareness. Echo then bestows a kaleidoscope shaped like ancient bark, said to reveal realities beyond ordinary three-dimensional perception. Before disappearing, she cryptically remarks that the tea was always yours anyway, suggesting that inner vision and wonder already reside within. The passage concludes with an invitation to sail the really sea and see what there is to see, blending wordplay and metaphysics in characteristic Rainbow Family fashion. Ultimately, this piece celebrates imagination as both a sacred act and a portal to higher consciousness. Jeffrey, Heroes captures one of the most powerful moments, blending musical mastery with philosophical reflection. Recorded at the 2008 Wyoming Annual Rainbow Gathering, the performance features Jeffrey Marshall, a musician born without arms and with shortened legs, who plays bass and harmonica using only his feet. His performance at the Granola Funk stage, a place where audience and performer merge in communal energy, stunned listeners into near silence. Through his soulful delivery of Heroes, Marshall redefines strength and artistry, offering a moving critique of toxic masculinity, control, and ego. His lyrics reject idealized heroism, "I don't want to be your hero," because heroes they never have names, inviting listeners to reflect on humility, authenticity, and shared humanity. Tenali, the author, interprets the song as a meditation on perception, self-acceptance, and the everyday heroism of simply living truthfully. The moment lingers as one of the most profound solo performances in the archive, a testament to vulnerability, transcendence, and the courage to sing through the darkness. Doppelquestioner acts as a reflective bridge between songs, offering a moment of transition and self-inquiry. Following the emotional resonance of Jeffrey, Heroes, the section invites the listener into a liminal space, half meditative, half surreal, where inner voices converse in koan like riddles. The title Doppelquestioner, a play on doppelganger, suggests an encounter with one's mirrored self, the questioner questioning the questioner. Accompanied by artwork from Lepid Ganger, it symbolizes the inward turn of the rainbow journey, an acknowledgement that the self is both seeker and reflection. This short but evocative interlude reframes the listener's role, nudging them toward introspection before moving back into the communal rhythm of music and storytelling that follows with Bear, Walk Your Own Road. In essence, it's a philosophical pause, where sound becomes dialogue and silence becomes its own kind of answer. Bear, Walk Your Own Road is a lively and spontaneous vignette that captures the essence of communal improvisation and humor at the 2000 Montana Annual Rainbow Gathering. Recorded at Zippolite Kitchen amid the smell of fried donuts and the warmth of a fading campfire, the scene unfolds as the musician Bear strums his guitar, leading an impromptu sing-along with friends. When two wanderers approach asking for directions, Bear transforms their question into music, serenading them with the refrain "You gotta walk your own road," turning confusion into laughter. What begins as a comedic detour evolves into a metaphor for individuality, resilience, and collective joy. The song's rough edges and laughter-filled chaos become part of its charm, embodying the Rainbow Family's ethos of play, self-reliance, and shared experience. Hrenak's reflections highlight the serendipity of field recording, how unplanned moments reveal deep truths about presence, connection, and the rhythm of life lived freely. We Love You is a brief yet heartfelt interlude in gathering sounds, encapsulating the spirit of connection, community, and affection that defines the rainbow gatherings. Set in the late afternoon along the main circle, the scene unfolds with friends relaxing at the forest's edge, drinking coffee, and swapping stories when a familiar, spontaneous chant, "We love you," echoes through the trees. Though simple and routine to veteran gatherers, the call evokes a tingle of recognition and belonging, a visceral reminder of shared humanity. The moment serves as both a literal and symbolic pause, a sonic embrace that reaffirms unity among strangers who, for a brief time, become family. Through minimal description and gentle imagery, Tenali captures the ineffable magic of communal warmth and the enduring resonance of three small words that mean everything in the rainbow world. Trio, Rainbow Around the Moon captures a transcendent and deeply reflective performance recorded at the 2021 Pennsylvania Prism Rainbow Gathering at Love and Ovens Light, LOL, in the Allegheny National Forest. The piece begins as a simple campfire chant, "There's a rainbow around the moon," but blossoms into a layered meditation on community, renewal, and wonder. Hrenak describes how the song, performed by three forest sirens, reawakens the collective spirit after the isolation and uncertainty of 2020. The trio's harmonies merge human voices with the rhythms of the forest, ferns, firelight, and moonbeams, all fusing into what he calls a Zen koan in song form, a question of perception and being. The chant, both ancient and immediate, evokes timeless myth and animist reverence, celebrating the moon as muse and mirror of human longing. Through poetic reflection and sensory detail, Hrenak shows how a simple, repeated phrase transcends language, restoring connection, stillness, and the joy of being alive beneath the glowing lunar halo. Nanak is one of the briefest yet most striking interludes in the book, functioning as a poetic and conceptual statement rather than a narrative. Presented alongside artwork by Nora Yaki, the section simply reads, "Consent is consent is consent is consent is consent is consent is consent is consent." A rhythmic, mantra-like repetition that transforms the idea of consent into both meditation and declaration. By mirroring the recursive style of Gertrude Stein's "A Rose is a Rose," Tenali uses linguistic play to emphasize the self-contained, non-negotiable nature of personal autonomy and mutual respect within communal spaces like rainbow gatherings. The palindrome-like title, Nanak, visually folds the word back on itself, reinforcing symmetry, reflection, and balance, core themes of the book's larger message about harmony, ethics, and interconnection. In its brevity, the piece becomes a powerful moral checkpoint, reminding the reader that love and freedom at the rainbow are only meaningful when rooted in clear, conscious, continuous consent. A. Robin Morehouse, Keep It Cumin Plus B. Cookin' Up Some Taters is one of the most humorous and sensually imaginative entries, chronicling how a simple service belle, named Robin Morehouse, became a legendary character within the rainbow community. First introduced at the 2009 to 2010 New Zealand World Rainbow Gathering, Robin began as a belle intended for a washboard before finding its true calling as a euphemism generator. The Keep It Cumin track, recorded at the 2010 Pennsylvania Gathering, captures a comedic, innuendo-laden sketch performance led by Aaron Funk at Granola Funk, where Robin's ding punctuates jokes with gleeful erotic absurdity. Its counterpart, Cookin' Up Some Taters, recorded at the 2011 Washington Gathering, turns the sounds of communal cooking, spatula flips, fire crackles, laughter, into a rhythmic, percussive jam, with Robin's timely dings adding flavor to the chaos of meal prep. Together, these tracks celebrate the joy of sound play, spontaneous collaboration, and the sensual, self-aware humor that pervades rainbow life, where even a kitchen bell can become a sacred instrument of laughter, liberation, and love.